Hey, quick question for you. If the power went out tonight, I mean really went out, like the whole grid just gave up, how long do you think you'd last before you started panic searching for that one flashlight you think is in the kitchen junk drawer? Or before you start Googling how to survive without Wi-Fi on a phone that is slowly running out of charge? Because while most of us would be sitting in the dark trying to remember if you can cook pasta over a scented candle, someone out there already has a plan. They have the supplies, the lists, and a flashlight that actually works, along with about 48 backup batteries they've organized by expiration date. Now, before you picture a guy in a backyard bunker wearing a gas mask, let me give you the twist. Most preppers aren't actually obsessed with the end of the world. They're obsessed with control. Stick with me, because by the end of this, you'll realize this mindset isn't that extreme, and that you probably practice a softer, socially acceptable version of it already, just with fewer beans and more Google Docs. Let's clear something up right away. Most doomsday preppers aren't sitting around debating which apocalypse is coming. They're not arguing over zombies versus asteroids. What they're reacting to is something much quieter. It's a background hum that says, things are fragile, systems break, and when they do, no one's coming to help. Psychologically, this is called uncertainty intolerance. Some brains are just wired to be extra sensitive to the unknown. It's that same low-level anxiety you feel when you're driving and the low fuel light comes on, but you're 10 miles from a gas station. For a prepper, the whole world feels like it's driving on empty, and they're just trying to find a jerry can before the engine sputters. Some brains are just wired to be extra sensitive to unpredictability. It's not about the danger itself, it's about not knowing. When that uncertainty hits a certain level, your brain stops asking, is this likely? And starts screaming, what can I do right now to feel safe? Here's the part most people miss. Prepping isn't just a survival strategy, it's a regulation strategy. Buying canned beans, organizing gear, learning how to tie knots, these actions create a powerful psychological illusion. They tell your brain, I'm not helpless. Even if the apocalypse never happens, the feeling of readiness works immediately. It lowers cortisol, it gives the brain something concrete to hold on to. It's basically retail therapy, but instead of buying shoes you'll never wear, you're buying enough Spam to survive a decade-long winter. It's the same hit of dopamine, just with more sodium. Preparation turns existential fear into a checklist. And let me tell you, the human brain loves a checklist. There's another layer here, and this one's rarely talked about. Deep down, a lot of preppers aren't imagining themselves as victims. They're imagining themselves as the hero of the neighborhood. They're the person who knows how to fix the generator or purify the well water. Even if the apocalypse never happens, the feeling of readiness works immediately. It lowers cortisol, it gives the brain something concrete to hold on to. In our modern world, being useful is kind of abstract. We move data around, we send per my last email messages, and we attend meetings about other meetings. But in a collapse, usefulness becomes very real and very physical. You either know how to do something or you don't. For some people, that clarity is comforting. And let's be honest, a lot of people secretly like the idea that the apocalypse would finally validate their random skills and suspicious amount of rope. The core difference between a prepper and everyone else usually comes down to one thing: trust. Most of us offload our survival to the system. We trust that the grocery store will have milk, the tap will have water, and the police will answer the phone. But if you don't trust systems, responsibility snaps back to you. And suddenly, preparing doesn't feel dramatic. It feels responsible. Like, I'm not paranoid. I just don't want my survival plan to depend on the same system that crashes when too many people reset their passwords. For example, if you've ever had your flight canceled and spent 6 hours in an airport line realizing that nobody actually knows what's going on, you've had a prepper moment. Preppers just take that realization and run with it. They've decided that if the pilot passes out, they'd rather already have their own parachute strapped on. Now, there is a dark side to this. Preparation is healthy when it ends in a sense of peace, but it can easily turn into an anxiety loop. This is when the brain stops saying, I'm ready, and starts saying, I missed something. It's like that feeling when you leave for vacation and you're convinced you'll have the stove on, except the stove is the entire global economy. If being prepared doesn't eventually make you feel safer, you aren't prepping for a disaster anymore. You're just practicing being afraid. It's a fine line between being the person who has a first aid kit in their car and the person who can't sleep because they haven't figured out how to defend their lawn against hypothetical raiders. Healthy prepping ends with calm. Unhealthy prepping never ends. Here's a quiet truth. For many people, the apocalypse isn't about society collapsing. It's about their life collapsing. Things like job insecurity, burnout, or a messy divorce can feel like the world is ending. It's often much easier for the brain to fixate on a solar flare or a cyber attack than to deal with the fact that your 9 to 5 is soul-crushing and you feel lonely. The imagined apocalypse gives that vague, heavy sadness a shape. Instead of, I don't feel safe in my life, it becomes, the world isn't safe. And that's easier to prepare for.
So here's the reveal I promised. You don't need a bunker to be a prepper.
If you keep a just-in-case fund in your savings account, or if you always bring a jacket just in case it gets cold, or if you have 3 different backups of your wedding photos, congratulations, you're using the exact same psychological hardware as the guy with the year's supply of canned peaches. You're just preparing for a different kind of end of the world. We all have that survivalist itch. We just scratch it in different ways. So next time you see someone preparing for the end of the world, don't ask, what do they know that I don't? Instead, ask, what uncertainty are they trying to make peace with? Because at the end of the day, wanting to be ready for the worst isn't crazy, it's human. We're all just trying to navigate a world that changes faster than we can keep up with. And honestly, having an extra flashlight that actually has working batteries, that's not a bad place to start.